Indeed.
Yeah.
I love it. You, sir?
I think for me, to make preparations does not spoil the trip. I mean, verify, verify. It does no harm to confirm. It does no harm to verify.
Yeah.
The trip will still happen, but how ready you are, how prepared you are, determines how you're going to enjoy the trip. So verify.
Yeah.
Verify. Kenyans, let's verify.
I can see where you're going. Not like you to want to just say it as it is, but go a little bit deeper. All right. I can see that. And I don't know of anything on the planet that succeeds without you having a roadmap to it, to be sure. If you're going to sing or prepare for a concert, you must practice. And you need to have a score of how the score will go. If you're an athlete, you must train. If you're going to compete in the Olympics, you must have this is the plan, this is what we're going to do. If you want to try and win an election, you must have a plan.
Strategy.
You must have a strategy. I don't know that anyone, even the fella at the Olympics, just concluded Olympics, who took without any kind of protective gear, any kind of headphones, anything, the gentleman who was in the shooting, and he just hit the target without anything else. You can't tell me that he just came and rocked up in Tokyo and just shot the thing. No. He had a plan for what he was going to do. Even when we think about the most famous Olympics, whereby in Greece, in Athens 2004, where the gentleman shot the arrow to light up the Olympic flame, I hazard a guess that he didn't do it on that night only.
He prepared.
Prepared for it, So I think success is as a result of bred preparedness.
Yeah.
You have to prepare, otherwise it'll be clear that you haven't.
And you will fail.
Are you talking to those who have not yet registered to vote?
Yes.
That no matter how much they want to be on this trip, if they're not preparing for it, it will be evident they could have done something, but they didn't, because they will not have the opportune moment to make the change.
Yep.
So even those who have the card and fail to wake up to cast their votes, it's like failing to prepare for the
There
trip.
you go. At least pack a T-shirt, my friends.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Right.
Jipange.
Jipange kabisa.
Ukikosa kujipanga utapangwa.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's some stuff that we're looking at this morning. All right. So I know Christine, I think at the end of this year, Christine is going to put together my phrases. She used to say that I say shall we all the time, so I've left that behind. And it would appear as though the next big thing is all right. So, Christine, have fun with that.
Okay. All right.
You see, it catches on real quick. Catches on real fast. And of course, everybody tuned in this morning. I'm going to remind you that our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Our audience here on KTN, Karibuni Sana, getting into the show this morning. We know that there are many people who are listening as you're getting into work. And for folks who are beyond the shores, who should be getting into bed, but staying up to listen to this show and to be engaged in the discourse, this is why we have it. We focus on these issues, and we say that we must have these conversations. We'll comfort the afflicted, and we'll afflict the comfortable. We'll have those conversations that maybe people don't want to have, maybe people think are not too exciting, but we're going to have them anyway because absolutely necessary for us to do in this current time. Okay, so we say hello to you guys as you getting into the room this morning, and you let us know where you're tuned in from, and thank you for doing that, all of you, when you can. And a very good morning to you coming in from where are you? Robert Bogo tuning from Mombasa. Good morning to you. Abere Bethwell says good morning from Gesha, Kiambu. Don't forget to say hello to Josfat and Kevin. Guys, egg them on. It's quite something to be able to wake up at this hour and still keep a smile on your face. Pan-African Kenyan says good morning from Nairobi. Rose Grace is tuned in from Manara. How are you? Spice FM, we're doing okay. Karibu Sana. Agutu Ogambo is here as well. Mashari and Jerry tuned in from Portland, Oregon. You should be going to bed, but you're staying up and watching this and having this conversation with us. We don't take that for granted at all. Agola, hello, people. Hope you're well. We're doing fine. Asante Sana. Ahmed, have a great week, everybody. Asante Sana. Okay, the Kikombe says this is a fact. All right, we're listening. Spread 1,000 shillings notes covering the grass of both Kasarani and Nyayo Stadium. That's 1 billion shillings only.
Wow.
If you sleep after you sow your seed, not you, but the monkeys will harvest. Donge. Duke FX says, good morning. Great week ahead. Tufunge viosk kila mahali. Why? What's going on with the kiosks? Eric Orr says, good morning, guys. Good morning to you. Tibbs Muga is also tuned in this morning. The flat pyramid is unraveling layer by layer. More money printing incoming. That's where your 1 billion story is coming from, isn't it? All right. Hisa Daniel is tuned in this morning, listening from Atiak in Uganda. Rahim Tula Omar says, good morning. Kenyans need to be respected in our countries by foreigners. Sad to see a Chinese national assaulting a Kenyan worker. Action must be taken. I have many questions.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm from that you foreigner will beat me and I'll be looking at you. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Scared of losing the job?
What? Sovereignty. What happened to sovereignty? What happened to that pride upon which you stand? No. What happened to humanity?
What
Human
happened
beings.
to labor laws?
Come on. You pay me a salary so you mistreat me? Absolutely not.
What
Absolutely not.
happened to solidarity at the workplace? Yeah. Interesting questions.
We could go on for days.
Yeah.
Peter Chiari says, good morning from Mombasa. Quit thinking you don't have what it takes or you've reached your limit. You're blessed, favored, and well able. Indeed. Agola is asking where is Okari. He's taking some time off, as happens. So, Usijali. Sawa. Fiery Red is saying, good morning. Twinkle, twinkle to you, Kevin Josephat. I've just already given you a nickname. So to song it.
To song it.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Kayumba Mpwampu says, good morning, listening in from Lusaka. Huge fan. Thank you so much for tuning in every morning. And even when you don't, thank you for keeping us here. Reparations, we see what you're doing. Will not be me. Space says, good morning. Rogers Lai Hamjamboni kutoka Mombasani. Good morning to you. Okay, now Agola says guest host 1 has a beautiful smile. Now, what I'm going to do is leave it up to you to decide who guest host 1 is. Guest host 1 has a beautiful smile. We tunacho wapi?
Katikati.
Both of you just say thank you.
We are grateful. Thank you.
Dr. Venvik says, good morning, tuned in. ODM yataka maombi huenda ikawa. Interesting weekend that was, for sure.
Yeah.
Robert Nyangi says, good morning, tuning from Voi. The sisters, good morning, Spice family. Another week, a chance to redeem our country, and you don't keep quiet about it, that's for sure. Kenya Home 254 says, good morning, Spice, happy week ahead. Did you guys see Senator from Kiambu? Did you see in Saudi Arabia talk of failed diplomatic policies? Prof was talking about on Friday. Yeah, unfortunately, what we're seeing happening, a bit sticky. We'll talk about that a little bit. Paul Ndete says, good morning from Maima. Hugh, let's have a good week. Let's do it. Mashari and Jero says the light is poor in the studio. They said the light is poor in the studio. Is that the case? No. But Disciple says, good morning. Riabai in Kiambu. I just packed my t-shirt, Jana. Very good. Mavenge says, Kauli ni Leile. All right, we see you. Christopher Gore is tuned in from Maseno. And Kao Nyambura tuned in this morning. Now, Penda Sana, wishing you all a blessed week ahead. Raimtula Omar is also tuned in. Welcome, Kevin and Josephat.
Thank you.
Karibu Sana, thank you so much. Wonderful week. Let's get into it. Langat Kusama Kweli says, good morning. Great unapologetic drillers of good governance, accountability, transparency, and rule of law constitution. It's unfortunate he dealt with Raila Odinga as he promised and now crushed ODM. Ooh-wee. Cecily Ongwenyi says, good morning. Tuned in from New Jersey. Let's build the nation. Twendeni kazi, kabisa kabisa. So we're getting into it this morning. As you roll into the room, just take our welcome through and through.
Yeah.
Welcome, Karibu. Okay, now let's look into the headlines. Start off with the Standard, Kenya's bold newspaper. Raila incarnate, and there is a picture of my good friend Winnie Odinga. The woman spoke over the weekend, did she not?
She did.
And she spoke from here.
She said bold things.
She did.
Yeah.
She did. And that could have formed this headline. The headline is Raila reincarnate. Winnie Odinga has burst onto the national scene, igniting a succession battle that could redefine or fracture the Odinga political empire. Her fiery debut at ODM's 20th anniversary in Mombasa energized supporters and unsettled rivals, signaling her intent to shape a party already split by competing camps. With Raila gone, ODM faces its most volatile moment in decades. An aging Oburu at the helm, rising factional tensions, and a bold new contender challenging the old order. Winnie's next move could determine the party's future. It's an interesting one. And I quote, when it came to the matter of broad-based government, the people of ODM entrusted one person with the management of that relationship. That person was Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. That relationship is complicated. She, of course, went on to say that the person who is going to continue with the management of that relationship has to be really considered. And you need an NDC to decide who that person is going to be. So it's not just assumed that the people who are talking here are the ones who are going to take over.
And I think that's quite a bold statement, especially looking at what's been happening within ODM after the demise of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, where there is lots of different talk, speeches. Everyone is seemingly trying to associate with what the former Prime Minister would have told them.
Yep.
And being that Winnie Odinga is the daughter that some people, like where I come from, they say Raila's son in a skirt.
Or just Raila's daughter. We can also have
or just Raila's daughter. So we expect to probably look at how the management of the relationship within broad-based government, given the infighting within the party, is going to look like, particularly coming from Winnie. Yeah.
True. And, everybody's fighting to say that the party is together and everything is okay. But with every speaker after speaker, it was very clear that it is already fissured. So, it's one to watch.
It was a good call. That's not from a bedroom, not from a boardroom.
Yeah.
There has to be a people's voice. ODM is a people's party. We've no need for that. But, I think there's a lot coming from that front. This is just the beginning of it, in my opinion, because Raila was such an embodiment of many things. Some people are saying Raila was ODM and ODM was Raila. So without him, a lot is going to happen.
Well, a lot is going to happen, and we can already see that. Looking at some more headlines into the Standard, like father, like daughter, Winnie joins fray for Raila political empire. And of course, it goes on to page 3, where Winnie Odinga's bold call sparks debate on ODM's future and Ruto ties. Looking at some more, court strikes out case challenging 16 billion shilling Taifa gas storage facility in Mombasa. And if you're wondering whether the teachers have settled on this SHA debacle, nah. Teachers SHA upgrade clouded by delays, fraud fears, and legal risks. And they're saying, yes, you said we had a deal, but not quite yet. The teachers were in Mombasa last week, and there's some key benefit changes that they're looking at. Outpatient cover, lowest earners at 150,000 up from 100,000. Highest earners 450 up from 375. Inpatient cover, lowest earners 1 million up from 750,000 shillings. Highest earners 3 million up from 2.5 million. Other benefits, dental 45,000 up from 35, optical 60 up from 45, maternity 120 up from 100, and last expense 300,000 up from 200,000. So one would say, why not? It sounds good, but there seem to be other things that they don't like.
You do remember when the Collins or you, the SG, led the teachers brigade to State House when they were receiving the 10,000 for 28 hours in a row before they could find their way back home. And he was very keen to say that, that move, remember here we had guests who said that the whole crux of the matter for that meeting was a shift for their medical cover. And he was keen to say that the government is working, SHA is good for them, and he said those things people are saying of continue offering another term for this regime. And people took a go at him. It'll be interesting to see why he's having a change of heart now.
It will be very interesting to see why that. We'll look into the details of that story in just a bit. Oburu faces turbulent start as he steps in as Raila's huge shoes at the ODM helm. Jimmy Orengo also over the weekend had some things to say and said, you know what, guys, okay, fine. I'm not afraid to say it, but the president needs us more than we need him. Let's face this thing face to face. And look, there's nothing to be afraid of. The only thing I fear is fear, he said. But let's get this thing together, bunched up nicely, because we are the ones who are in a position of power, as it were.
He gets it.
He gets it.
I think, in my opinion, I think Orengo has it correct. It would be interesting to see how many will buy into his school of thought, how many will align with him. Because, he's been the minister of enjoyment. Him and Baba have been enjoying at the hip.
And of course, before that, there was a question about whether Orengo would be brought in, and he said, I'm not going to go to State House. Everybody else went, I'm not going to go. And then he eventually went. It seemed like as he was held by the short and curlies in order for him to actually make the move. But this is his true self coming out again, where he says, come on, guys, this is not what we fought for.
And actually is quoted there in the Daily Standard, and they're saying he says liberation parties in Africa are dying. In Tanzania, CCM is dead. In Uganda, UPC died. And in Zambia, UNIP died. They died because they forgot the people.
Yes.
ODM is a party of the people, by the people, for the people. ODM cannot be the party of the broad-based.
Voila.
James Orengo, the governor of Siaya County.
There's an internship policy amongst teachers. And JSS teachers have had the most horrible time ever since this change of curriculum. And now this internship policy, they're asking, okay, so now what happens to us? The president said previous governments were employing 5,000 teachers annually, but my government has hired 100,000 teachers in 3 years. But these 100,000 teachers are intern teachers. So what happens in terms of P&P? What happens in terms of scaling the job grade? So those are the questions that they're starting to ask. JSS teachers, remember that JSS is still, till today, domiciled in primary schools. So a JSS teacher who would be going to a higher grade is teaching in primary. So what happens to them in terms of promotions? Nobody's talking about that.
That's a good question. Something else also. Since we have ghost schools, do we have ghost teachers hiring? I'm just asking.
No, you're not. I'm not just asking.
I'm just asking,
No,
this really calls to question the role of TSC, the Teachers Service Commission. It's a commission that is put in place to be able to review, hire and ensure that such confusion does not exist. Where is the voice of the Teachers Service Commission? Where is the road plan? Remember, we began with a proverb from Guinea. Planning and road mapping. Where is the vision of the teachers? And particularly for the education sector, looks like we are crumbling it.
We are. Piece by piece, we're removing the building. We're removing the foundation block.
And I don't think it should be for the president to say how many teachers he has hired. We have district education officers. We have the Teachers Service Commission. We need to know these 60,000 teachers. Where have they been deployed? Because every so often we're talking about a shortage of the teaching fraternity and the lack of promotion therein. And even sometimes I wonder, do we need to be building houses or schools?
This is a very good question that you've asked here about where have they been deployed. And beyond that, what are they actually doing? Because you have a teacher of history or a teacher of English who is also the librarian, who is also, then has been told on this good day you shall then teach physics. I mean, this is a real thing. And that we have a 37% gap for science teachers. And remember that we're offering STEM as a pathway in 2026, whereby there's a 37% lack of science teachers in the country. Where are these 100,000 teachers actually going, and what are they doing?
Kenyans. And we are talking about zero transition, leaving no one behind. So you walk into a classroom in a public school, and you have more than 80, learners
in a single class.
What does this mean? What is it about quantity or is it about quality? And therefore, what is about what happens to the future of these learners, and therefore the future of the human resource of the country. Many, many questions, therefore, that come to the fore.
For sure. We're hurtling very quickly towards the by-elections that take place on 27th of November. And UDA and the opposition brace for fierce battle in Narok and Baringo. That's happening. In another headline, leaders are accusing Ruto of blocking their campaigns in Berry North. We did see, at some point yesterday, I felt that Rigathi Gachagua was actually preaching the sermon in that church, but because it took so long for him to say whatever he needed to say. Police brutality. Senators are saying we want tamper-proof CCTVs in stations. Not this business of, the thing was not working.
Do you know, before maybe 2-3 years ago, we had a very sporadic and effective CCTV surveillance in the city of Nairobi. And then issues of abduction, carjacking, and generally crime went down. That system seems to have been revised backwards. It will be interesting to understand why. Because we need to upgrade. Before we talk of even having the surveillance in the police stations, we need to ensure that the public are safe. And that system was very efficient. It helped even in controlling of traffic because they do better prediction.
Precisely, and really just focusing on what that means to the context of digitization. AI is here. And even beyond that, we're also talking about, digital government services. So beyond just talking about CCTVs, the biggest concern to us should be sustaining some of these progressive, aspects of governance, like you're saying. 2-3 years ago, we had things working. CCTVs were working. What happened? Who is in charge? And for instance, how do we relate to reports that are made by citizens around muggings, along our roads, carjackings? I remember there was an MP who was actually killed, early in the morning around Nyayo House at the roundabout. And the biggest scapegoat was that the CCTV wasn't working. So where are we? What does that mean to the general security of the populace and indeed of the country?
Indeed. Joe, you want to look at The Nation?
Yes. The Daily Nation today. Front page, we have the war within. This is regarding the ODM at 20. It says Winnie's hard tackle on Oburu during ODM gala reveals family tensions. I think, as you say, there are divergent voices coming from both the family and the ODM fraternity. It'll be interesting to see how that progresses. Winnie is quoted having said, the broad-based relationship is complicated. Those managing it now, are they capable? Because it's only one Baba, Raila Odinga, who could manage it. To a large extent, I do agree with her. There is only one Baba, there'll only be one Baba, and there'll always be one Baba. Perhaps, do we then consider ODM to has run its course? Is it also possible? But anyway, moving on to page 2 of the same, of the Daily Nation. Recruitment of 10,000 police officers on today in one-day affair. Well, this has been a controversial issue. It has been taken to court on and off. And I think it speaks to how it goes on to say that thousands of Kenyans hoping to join police service are expected at over 400 recruitment centers today as the National Police Service seeks to enlist 10,000 constables, marking one of the largest single-day recruitment drives in recent years. They want to do it in a day. I hope it is based on merit.
You hope.
The recruitment will run from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 427 centers, where candidates will undergo traditional, physical, and medical examinations under the supervision of recruitment officers. So, guys, show up, and we wish you come out and serve your nation. I think the next one takes us to page 4 is a continuation of the same, the war within. Silent Raila Oburu family rivalries. I think that's interesting for me to see how that will progress. Page 5, it says Gachagua warning to Ruto in Bere. In my opinion, there seems to be a misrepresentation of fact. The by-elections are not just between UDA and DCP.
No, they're not.
There are so many candidates who are running on other tickets. And I think it's only fair for even them to get similar coverage, attention and coverage. Because this psychological hacking, that it is this and versus this person only. No, we have In Narok, I know we have a candidate on Safina Party and many other parties. Others have pulled out. In Bere North, we have candidates as well on other parties. Safina Party has an MP candidate in Bere North. I know here in Kariobangi North, we have ODM, we have Safina again, we have, I think, UD and DCP, and we even have an independent candidate. So I think it's only fair that we give them coverage so that them as candidates and the people who are voting in that particular constituency or ward get to make a valid choice. And I hope everybody will speak to the revolutionary voice that is in the mood of the country.
Yeah, I think sometimes we forget just how much of a psychological impact putting out just a number or one or two then has on the minds of people. Because then even though you may have brick and mortar facts, the people who are, that's why billboards work. It's a psychology behind advertising. That if I put a particular thing in bright colors before you on your way to work every day, the likelihood of you making the selection when you go to the supermarket is higher because I've seen that thing in my path every day. So if you're putting two people out there and you're following up every day, when I go to make the selection, the likelihood of me making a selection between the two is greater because I've seen them every day.
And I also think that probably there is a miss in terms of media engagement or just general political publicity of candidates. Because when you overly have just 2 or 3 people who are touted as the political party leaders, the question then that begs is what happens to the candidates themselves? And these are people who come for a day or a few hours. They are within that station for a few hours, they speak, they leave. The candidate is left there. And sometimes you have no idea even who the candidate is, what they stand for, what they are actually sprouting for them to be elected. I think again, a call to the candidates is to, pull up your socks insofar as your publicity for political office is concerned.
Right. So page 6 of the Daily Nation. Crux of the matter. Ruto stakes claim in ODM legacy. Of significance, I want to know, where is Caleb Amisi? Because he said here in the hot seat that should Ruto appear in the ODM at 20, he will walk away. Caleb Amisi, where are you? Kenyans, find him for us. We want to hear from him. We want to hear how he interprets the presence of Ruto as a founder member, and we see them sharing the cake. So, Caleb Amisi, we are looking for you. I think finally we go to page 12.
And just so that there's someone who was asking, the cake that was being sliced, was it orange or was it yellow?
Right, good question.
Well, for men...
Right.
Should I continue?
It depends.
Good question. Right. Page 12 of the Daily Nation. This, I think, carries the day for me. It says, today in history, Ndu. I don't know where you are in 1992, but I remember myself during those very heated campaigns. I was given sweets and I was not a voter. But I was bribed.
You were not old enough to be a voter?
No.
Okay.
But I was bribed by some sweets. Somebody who wanted to be a councillor in my area.
Yes.
But on that day, today in history, November 17, 1992, former cabinet minister Kenneth Matiba, 61 then, is named Ford Asili's presidential nominee. Martin Shikuku, the party's SG, Secretary General, accepted defeat and promised to work with Matiba to realize the party's goals. Matiba dismissed a proposal by other political parties. I need you to hear that twice. Matiba dismissed a proposal by other political parties to field one presidential candidate against President Moi in the December 29 election, saying that Kenyans should be given a chance to choose from a variety of leaders.
Wow.
It's interesting that happened on this day.
Well, so that is interesting because when we see people trying to peel back the advances we've done democratically today and trying to woo us into a one political party system, and yet 23 years ago, a presidential nominee said, no, let the people decide.
Let the people decide.
And that's what he said.
What are the chances that somebody today, in today's current political dispensation, that somebody would open their mouth to say the same thing? Again, what are the chances? Slim.
Very slim.
Very.
Yeah.
So, yep.
All right. What about the Star, Kevin?
On the Star today, China is the main source of imports into the country. So the headline is Cheap Imports Killing Kenya's Juakali Sector. And it's a story that continues on page 4 and 5. And we have amazing statistics there, where we're actually talking about facts and figures. 98% of MSMEs across the business space in Kenya. 17 million estimated number of small traders in Kenya.
17 million.
17 million.
Wow.
It's huge.
Wow. That is
huge. And that of course covers 40% contribution of small traders to the GDP. Wow, 40%.
Wow.
It's higher than our diaspora emissions.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
90% of jobs created by Juakali sector. Wow. So where our graduates last Friday, the nation was full of buzz activities of graduations from different areas, and we have expanded the TVETs, and we I think have opened a number of them in almost every constituency. But remember that the biggest number of employees are in the Juakali sector, and that 9 out of 10 young people joining the workforce are employed in the MSMEs.
And someone wants to argue that economy is not the biggest discussion we should be having.
For goodness sake.
Really?
For goodness sake.
Wow. I think even an MCA aspirant needs to be talking about the economy, let alone the presidential aspirant.
Yeah.
If it's not economical discussion, don't listen, Kenyans.
The only thing today that is going to get Kenya to develop is the second world. We're third world. We get it. That will even allow you to get it is a revitalization of the economy.
Yes.
You will not progress if you don't fix your economy. That's the truth. If you're not building, if you're not industrialized, if you're not manufacturing and selling, not just selling, but selling for profit. If you're not doing that, if you're not meeting a global need today as a country, there's no way you'll progress. That's just basic 101. I don't even know the intrigues of economics, but it's just basic. If you're not building, manufacturing, industrializing, making, selling for a profit, you will not progress. And you're right. If you are in the third world or wherever this third world is, and you are not aspiring to do that, I'm not even saying catch up with anybody. I'm saying at the bare minimum, if you're not doing that, you will not compete on a global scale. You won't.
And you will not create jobs.
Yes.
And you will have demonstrations every single day.
Right.
Because there are no jobs. Page 12 of the Star, of course, Ruto calls on MPs to enact 1.5 trillion shilling infrastructure fund. This is going to be forming part of the conversation on the sovereign bill, right?
Yep.
And he says that the absence of the fund is stalling key highways and rural access roads. Wow, look at our budgeting for money. Budget for infrastructure.
They should fix Enterprise Road first. This one here.
Oh, yeah.
Enterprise Road first. Then we'll know they're serious.
Yeah, so we'll be having this discussion in a short while. And of course, the head of state said that he will vouch for the fund on Thursday when he will deliver the State of the Nation address before the joint sitting of the bicameral parliament. So looking forward to listening to what the president says. On page 20, something interesting about the education sector, the Star, page 20. There is a petitioner who wants court to stop Kenyatta University boards from hiring successor. So our education institutions continue to have problems. From funding to infrastructure, equipment, and now succession politics.
And we had the same in Moi. The other day.
So Professor Wainaina is accused of setting up a legal committee to develop criteria for recruiting the next VC for Kenyatta University. Flip it through to page 21. At least something that we are seeing about the IEBC. Take listing to the villages to reach more voters, IEBC is told. And this is a conversation that has been going on, particularly cementing on why we are having low turnouts on, those who are the new voters. So there are recommendations there, and that many Murang'a residents have reported being unable to travel to registration centers.
It's quite a task because you have to move to your constituency office.
Yeah.
And So you're looking at a radius of not less than 15 kilometers from one far corner to where the constituency IEBC office ought to be. But I know IEBC is planning to have enhanced continuous voter registration. The question is when, because that is the one that moves around to markets, centers, outside churches on Sundays.
Right.
The question is, when are they going to do that?
So Anne Dorito says that after this by-election that takes place on the 27th of November, after that there will be, what's the word they normally use? Robust. There will be robust voter registration, and they'll be going to, in fact, they have a plan to go to the northern parts. They've got a plan to every nook and cranny.
Right.
Yeah, so after the 27th of November. If it doesn't happen, we'll ask her. Hey, sis.
Yeah, but I also think that IEBC needs to more or less think outside the box, go out of the conventional ways of doing things.
They need to throw the box away.
Throw away that box and just operate in, an open space and engage with the young people who are on TikTok, doing massive, drives on their own products,
I gave the example, and I keep thinking about this, that when the currency of the country was being changed, you saw the central bank governor, a man that you rarely see.
Yeah.
He's in his office, he's doing whatever he needs to do. Nobody even knows what the man looks like. This man was on TV commercials telling people, guys, we're changing our currency. Because there is a certain amount or level of gravitas that it gives to the thing, to showing that you're vested. You can't just announce from your office and tell people, people come out. You want 6.3 million people. And 3 months into the thing, 120,000 people have registered. That should be a wake-up call to tell you, hey, guys, we need to change the way we're doing this thing if we're going to get the numbers that we're looking for.
I'm hopeful that this is the last IBC. This is the last analog IBC we are having as a country.
One would pray.
That's my hope.
And I am hoping that, as you talk about analog and digital, that we probably will be told when we will begin to have... digital voting.
Yes.
That my M-Pesa can work effectively from, the comfort of my sitting under a tree.
Yes.
And I send money to a wrong number, I'm able to retrieve it back. Why must Kenyans go and queue for endless hours to vote?
Systems we must revise.
Employ them.
It's even the medical system. If you go to one from one hospital to the next, public government hospitals, they don't have a shared data system. You
would imagine that if I went to Mama Lucy today and my details were in the system, like you say, public, and then I went to Bagavi, and a month from now, that Bagavi should be able to get into the system and say, okay, Ndu, you were at Mama Lucy for this, this, and this. You were seen by this doctor, and this is what they prescribed. And this is what we should, so that we can continue. That's what a continuum means.
Yes. So
we should be able to do that with voting as well.
Yep, precisely. So that's it. Over to you, Ndu.
Can I annoy you guys just a little? Just keep Togo for 3 minutes. Let me annoy you before you look how Josephine is looking at me.
All righty.
87,000 ghost workers drain 1 billion shillings from schools annually.
Wow.
This is in the nation. This is the story that's carried in the nation. Those ghost schools and learners that you were talking about. How much is the education budget? It's about 650 billion shillings.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
A billion shillings of that money kind of just... The Ministry of Education, no less, they themselves, they've uncovered at least 87,000 ghost learners in public schools following an ongoing nationwide audit of basic education institutions, an anomaly that may have drained up to 1 billion shillings in taxpayers' money. According to an Auditor General report, falsified enrollment figures have cost the country more than 4 billion shillings in capitation funds over 4 years. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba confirmed that thousands of fictitious learners and non-existent schools have been flagged in the ongoing verification exercise, warning that those responsible will face sanctions. I'm going to stop there.
No,
just to annoy you. See, you're already annoyed. I told you, I was asking for 3 minutes, but it just took you one.
Why?
Well done.
Why is the CS education still in office this day and age? There has to be what you call institutional responsibility. I mean, you cannot come out as a CS and tell me, Kenyans, I am in charge of people who are stealing. They have stolen 4 billion of our tax in the last 4 years. I am in charge of that office, and that's it. it does not end there. If you're in charge of stealing, because if he's in charge of a ministry that is just misappropriating our resources, he should take step aside so that we can know, are you part of those who are stealing? Because that is stealing according to me, and I stand to be corrected.
No, but let me prepare it up for you some more, just a little bit. That this place where these 87,000 ghost workers, schoolers, students, schools, whatever, it is in a database that is operated, managed, and hosted by the Ministry of Education, not of Japan, of Kenya. Ministry, Jogo House on Taifa Road.
No.
It is hosted by the ministry. It is not an external server. They know who these students are. So what are you auditing? Who is supposed to? It is you. So when you're paying money out, who do you think this money is going to? Then you are raising alarm. Oh, what do you expect?
Kenyans, no.
I don't know what happened to, we just spoke about digitization and digital governance a few seconds ago, and there was some reforms that were earlier, proposed on something called, was it unique identifier code?
Yes, unique identifiers.
Lana. How far, where, after Kenyans spent monies into those kind of systems, do they even work?
You think they spent the money on those systems, or they spent the money? There's a difference.
I am just I'm hoping that. And as just talks about institutional responsibility, we really have to also push it to personal responsibility.
It's crazy. And that he keeps pushing and peddling this narrative. You're right. Why is he still there? Somebody's got to call him out. How do you tell us that? You, the ministry, who gives these numbers? They are the ones who give chemist numbers. They are the ones who used to give NEMIS numbers. So you've been giving NEMIS numbers to fake schools and fake students, and then you are coming to tell us that you're auditing them. Get real. Get real.
In fact, it goes further to say that the minister or the CS told MPs that 10 schools across 10 counties were found to have no learners at all.
And you're happy to... In fact, what surprises me, and I know it's a minute past 7 o'clock, but what surprises me is that you don't even have shame. You're coming out in public to tell people the mistakes that you people have been making. For crying out loud. Now it's 1 past 7 and I've annoyed you. I took 4 minutes to annoy you, but...
It is evil.
Mission accomplished. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.